Welcome to Water Online Radio's live coverage of the American Waterworks Association's 2015 Annual Conference and Expo. Broadcasting live from Anaheim, California. ACE15, uniting the world of water. Water Online Radio is brought to you by wateronline.com, showcasing today's water industry leaders and innovators. And now, here are your hosts, Todd Schnick and Kelly Riggs.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Water Online Radio's fourth year of coverage from ACE. And hello from Anaheim. I'm your host, Todd Schnick, joined by my friend and colleague, Kelly Riggs. Kelly, we had the pleasure of chatting with American Cast Iron Pipe the other morning. Now we got American Flow Control in the house. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, it should be a really great accent to what we did earlier in the week.
Absolutely. Let's get to it. We're joined now by Derek Scott. He's a marketing and technical manager with American Flow Control. Derek, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
The pleasure is ours. Thanks for carving out some time to join us. I know you're very busy here at ACE. Before we get into our conversation, give a quick run-through of American Flow Control. What do you do? How do you serve your market?
Well, American Flow Control, our product line complements the pipe group that you mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. And the name is pretty self-explanatory, but we provide valves from 2 to 66 inch in diameter. That larger one being as tall as 13 feet, weighing 30,000 pounds. We also provide 2 iconic fire hydrants to the marketplace, American Darling. That's produced in Beaumont, Texas. And we do the water spraying, and it's produced in South St. Paul, Minnesota. Check valves, post indicators, tapping sleeves. Just a full complement to the piping network.
Outstanding.
Very good. Talk about how American is involved with AWWA.
Well, we've been around, obviously, for over 100 years. Our involvement with AWWA goes back to 1907. Our involvement is not only at this show, which it's a fantastic show and a great opportunity for us, but we're also involved in the section levels, which are the state associations that collectively comprise this great organization. We spend a lot of time there in the teaching, sharing the product knowledge that we have. We also spend a lot of time at the national level with officers, Manufacturers Associates Council, Standards Council. A lot of time is spent in standard development. I myself am involved in a number of subcommittees and committees for AWWA. Colleague Maury Gaston that you spoke to earlier in the week, we spend a lot of time trying to put back and give back in the industry. And I think he talked to you guys a lot about the interstate water concept.
Oh, yeah. Something
that we think that conversation, that time has come.
We agree. All right. So, Derek, we're at ACE, and it's just a hotbed of innovation. And what you see here is so exciting. But it's not new stuff. I mean, American is really, really known for being innovative. It's for the duration of the organization. Walk us through some of the significant innovations American's been responsible for.
Well, sure. Change in the water industry it moves slow, and for just reason, in fact. If you go back and look at some of the things that we're known for, 1907, we developed the first self-propelled fire truck. These are things that you kind of pass by and you don't really think about.
Right.
1922, first cement line pipe. 1929, we invented the mechanical joint, which is still probably the most common joint used in this industry. 1938, the Darling fire hydrant, one of the hydrant brands that I mentioned earlier, developed the first traffic model hydrant. So what you see on TV when the geyser pops up, in theory shouldn't happen. It does happen in Southern California. There's what they call a wet barrel hydrant here. But the other 49 and a half states, if you will, use a dry barrel concept. And so we developed that. It's very... It's something you just don't really think about. American shipped their first ductile iron pipe in 1955. First fusion bond epoxy gate valve in 1981, and the first reduced wall gate valve in 1989, reduced wall ductile iron, and that is now the industry standard. So there's a lot of innovation that we've been responsible for in the past that we're very, very proud of. We make, like I said earlier, valves up through 66 inch, and we brought those into the market in 2008, 2011.
Well, Todd made reference to the fact that ACE is so much about innovation, and every year companies save their good stuff, their new innovative things. They bring them out to marketplace here. I'm sure American's no different. Tell us a little bit about what you're showing.
Well, this is a great show for us. We're bringing a couple things to market here this year that we're really excited about. For folks that need a little higher pressure ratings, if you will. What we're finding is people are taking water greater distances, elevation changes, those kind of things, on occasion require a little higher pressure. So we have introduced our Series 3500 gate valve, our Series 2500, which was rated at 250 PSI. We've taken that a step further and rating it at 350. The really neat thing at the end of the day that we were able to do here is pretty much take the same valve and provide it to the customer. So the valve that you had that you've grown to know and trust is now moving over, and you're continuing to use that same thing just with a higher rating. UL FM rated at 350 and AWWA rated at 350.
Okay.
Secondly, and this is something that I think Mari also probably talked to you about, we were introducing a complement to the earthquake joint system that's been introduced on our pipe system. We're bringing a B84B fire hydrant. We're putting an earthquake joint base on it. A lot of times when there's a seismic event, you have a lot of fires that crop up due to electrical issues or gas fires or what have you. And because of the movement and the shifting soils, fire protection becomes inoperative. And so we've developed this joint, and essentially what it does, it gives you both a lateral deflection in the joint to move with the earth, 3 degrees on that joint. There is an extension or a contraction of the joint of plus or minus 2.8 inches. And we've got a isolation valve. Every fire hydrant typically has an isolation valve. And we are putting a flex ring end on each of those ends of that valve, which gives us an additional 5 degrees of deflection. So in total, you're looking at 13 degrees of deflection for a hydrant lead. And it's just unsurpassed in the industry. No one does that. We've added one other feature to that hydrant where we have put a bronze drain ring down there so that if the seismic event were to make the hydrant inoperable, your water pressure will be maintained at the bottom so that you don't lose that pressure elsewhere when you need to have that pressure to fight the fire with. And in this part of the country where water is a precious commodity and drought has really plagued this area, that's a significant factor. That's really the new products that we have.
Well, that's some amazing stuff. That's what you're showcasing here at ACE15. But if I know American, there's probably some other recent new products, new innovative products that are pretty new to market as well. What are some of those?
Well, absolutely, Todd. We do have some products out there that we're getting a lot of attention. We have the Captivator. A Captivator is a security system that we put on our fire hydrant. It allows us to essentially secure the caps, prevents people from putting things in the water system that shouldn't be there, prevents folks from stealing water or taking water out. Water theft is a big issue. It also prevents vandalism to the copper alloys or the bronze components that are on a fire hydrant. Conserves water because you don't have folks going out there and using them when they shouldn't. And ultimately that saves the community money. So this particular system, we've got a lot of good response. We're having a number of military bases that have actually started using this particular product. We have what we call the Valve and Hydrant Inspector. This is a GIS-based system. We partnered with two companies that are leaders in the field, Esri and Trimble. One of those is a database management group. The other provides hardware that integrates with that, a solution provider for that database. And we place a unique barcode on every valve hydrant that we ship. And essentially what that barcode does is allow a seamless transfer of 26 attributes, manufacturing attributes, over into the database. So the utility will know when it was built. They'll know the direction to open. They'll know the depth of bury for the hydrant. They'll know the nozzle thread configuration. Color schemes are pretty obvious, those kind of things. But just pretty much everything it took to build that product, that hydrant, the valve, they're going to have it there. And all of that is pretty neat. That saves time. You can do a manual entry. But there's some other things that often get overlooked. When people think of GIS, they think of GPS. They think of only location. And those are critical factors, certainly whenever you have a landscape change, if you've got a catastrophic event due to a hurricane, something like that. Things don't look like they did when you left. And so you need to be able to find these assets. This has resulted in several communities posting lower ISO ratings, and they're saving money on insurance. You take that a step further. A lot of times when folks build a project, you need to capture where everything's at, what depth of bury it is, et cetera. This is making the concept of what they used to call as-built drawings, and different from what the plans and specs necessarily showed. And so the as-built are automatically captured because this data gets moved over seamlessly. A new element to this is the 3D version. This also allows you to consider not only your geospatial location, but also the depth that a pipeline might be. So long-term planning gets kind of brought into all this. Folks can go back and look and see what their maintenance costs are and those kinds of things.
Well, you guys have a strong product line, no question about that. But I know that many times you're creating these products in response to trends in the industry and where you see things going. What is Americans' viewpoint in terms of the water industry? Where are we going, and what kind of responses are we going to see from you guys?
Well, certainly. I think I mentioned earlier that we had invented the mechanical joint back in 1929, and it's lived a long life, and I'm sure it will continue to live. But we're seeing an interest in other types of restraint joints in the industry that can secure various types of pipe, but certainly iron pipe that our parent company produces. But joint strain is becoming a big thing, if you will. We offer a Barracuda gasket, if you will. It's produced by another family, American family, Specification Rubber Products out of Alabaster, Alabama. It's a high visibility restraint joint gasket that works with iron pipe. We also currently supply what's known as a flex ring. It's a proprietary joint that works with our ductile iron pipe. The things that are the big items there is it's a positive joint restraint. It's not friction based, so you're not relying on something that hopefully holds tight enough to where it will hold your joint together. There's a well bead with a rubber backed retaining ring, so it's a positive joint restraint. It offers dynamic deflection. A lot of times when you put joints together, they become very fixed. So we were talking earlier about either a seismic event or maybe a loaded structure requiring some settlement of the soils. This dynamic deflection of the joint, its capabilities allows it to keep moving. Significant labor savings. You don't have to worry about the bolts and nuts and those types of things that typically go into putting this together. You don't point load the pipe per se, so that the pipe potentially would be out of round. It's just a tremendous savings on, like I think I said earlier, on labor. We're finding as much as 75 to 80% on labor savings. That's significant when you have large valves.
Oh, yeah.
It's huge.
Not new to the market necessarily is our larger diameter valves. I mentioned earlier how big some of these valves are. You can look at a gate valve versus a butterfly valve, for instance. Energy consumption is a big deal. It's typically the second largest item on a cost for a utility on their balance sheet. Gate valves are highly efficient. The pumping cost through a gate valve is a tenth what it is at butterfly. And you don't have anything in the waterway. It's a full opening, if you will. It's very maintenance friendly, much more durable, if you will. So you can pretty much put them in, cycle them once a year, you're good to go.
I don't think people appreciate the size of that 66-inch gate valve. I mean, it's an amazing product.
It really is. We have a 36 on the floor here. It's about as large as we can bring into the building. But we even with that one, we get a lot of attention.
Oh, I bet you do. Well, Derek, I hate to say it, we're about out of time. Before I let you go, how can people contact you should they have questions, and where can they learn more about American Flow Control?
Well, sure. We have a website, american-usa.com. We also have an award-winning news center. Same website. Just go to the info bar at the top and click on the news icon. Take you there. You can follow us on Twitter, @news@American. Last but not least, certainly you can email me at dscott@american-usa.com. Might not have all the answers, but we'll certainly work to get them for you.
You'll certainly find them. All right, Derek Scott, Marketing and Technical Manager with American Flow Control, division of American Cast Iron Pipe. As always, great to have you guys on the show. Thanks for making time to join us.
Thank you guys for having us.
Our pleasure. All right, that's it for this broadcast. To listen to every great conversation recorded here at ACE15 on demand, check out wateronlineradio.com. That's wateronlineradio.com. So on behalf of myself, my co-host Kelly Riggs, engineer Floyd, and all of us at Water Online, I'm Todd Schnick. Water Online Radio. We'll be right back.